Hi, this is Aaron Nola, and welcome to the Phillies show.
Good morning, everybody. The Phillies show. Ruben Amaro Jr., Jim Salisbury, Todd Zalecki. It's Wednesday. What is the date? April 16th, 2025.
Right,
yes.
Day.
Thank you, Ruben, for the assist.
I'm here
We get up early to record the Phillies show. So
really
I've got my morning coffee. Everybody's had their coffee. Jim, have you had your coffee?
I'm working on it, my brother.
There we go, buddy. There we go. Phillies with the win last night. They beat the San Francisco Giants. And what happens in that game, gentlemen? You see Alec Bohm with a big hit. You see Brandon Marsh with a sac fly to give them a 2-0 lead early in the game. Alec Bohm's hit, of course, gave them the lead late in the game. And in case you've been missing it, both of those guys have been struggling a little bit. They've been a hot topic of conversation in the Delaware Valley, and contributed to a win.
And they strung some hits together. Everything doesn't have to fly over the wall, you know. And you don't have to try to drive everything over the wall. Though it was a big home run by Bryce Harper, it's certainly nice to see. But they strung some hits together. They got a nice assist from the Giants left fielder. I think he's got to get to that ball. If I was Verlander didn't look very happy, but nonetheless, much needed win and contributions from Bohm and Marsh were nice to see. I really was taken with Bohm's post-game interview with the TV crew, with you and Tom, Ruben. I just saw some human side. He smiled. He brought up his struggles. He was very self-aware and accountable, and he showed his personality. He showed that he's a really good guy. He is a good guy. He showed some humility and seemed to exhale a little bit. So hopefully that helps him going forward, because he's such an important bat in that lineup.
Yeah, no doubt. A lot to unpack. Let's stay on Bohm for now. Great interview. I think that was a great observation, Jim. I think that he talked about him being horrible. Kind of laughed about it and such. I think that's what you have to do, and it's really hard to do when you've never been through it. He's never really been through anything like that in his career. I'm certain of it. I mean, I'm talking about minors. I'm talking about high school. I'm talking whatever. And so it's difficult when the expectation is super, super high. I've been through it as a player who didn't have as high an expectation, and you go home, it's like you want to kick your dog. I'm serious. It's difficult. I've gone through the 2 for 52. It's awful, and it's hard to dig out of that. But he has a ton of talent, and we talk about it all the time, back of the baseball card. I know that there's so many different narratives because he got benched in the playoffs and all this stuff. He tends to be emotional, and he's got to grow through that. But these are human beings. Don't forget, not widgets. They're still human beings. And the fact that he, got a big base hit, probably lifted a little albatross off his shoulder a little bit. I think that's a huge thing. There's also some tons of things to unpack about the game yesterday. I thought Max Kepler had tremendous at-bats. He hit 4 bullets. He looked very sharp, excellent on defense. The man can play some left field now. Right out of the chute, makes a great diving play. That sort of lets Luzardo exhale. There's a lot of stuff going on that we'll probably hit a little bit later on once we get to a commercial break here. But
while I got you on Kepler, if they can come up with a legitimate right-handed bat out there in left field, would you look at a pure platoon there? It might really be beneficial to the team if they could find the right-handed bat.
You might find it in Weston Wilson, maybe.
Yeah.
But I think that I honestly think that Kepler has some pretty decent at-bats. I know he hasn't had great at-bats against him yet, but he's not bad against left-handers, man. Okay. And when he gets right, I like this guy. I like the way he swings the bat. I like his approach. He's looked like a lot more like he was in spring training yesterday than he has been all year. So
yeah, he definitely swung it well.
You got to get these guys some at-bats.
He hit 3 balls last night, Ruben, over 100 miles an hour.
Thank you.
There you go. Line out, double.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 bullets to the infield that could have been hits.
Yep.
One to short and one to second. I mean, that when you're doing that, that means you're on it. You're on it, and I like it. And it's, obviously big that Harper hit the home run because he always sort of seems to come through somehow, some way. But going back to Bohm, it's so important for him to realize how good he is. The reality of it is this. The man is a really good hitter. He's probably their best pure hitter other than Harper in the lineup, as far as just being able to manage the strike zone and hit balls through the middle of the field and to produce runs. And so they need him. It's nice to see Castellanos doing his thing because he's sort of picking up where Bohm's left off. But they need him in the lineup because they need the length and they need him to have success.
That's kind of the thing that I understand why he got frustrated. I get it because he sees the batting average up there and it's terrible. He sees the OPS, it's terrible.
It's embarrassing.
Yeah, I mean, so I get that frustration, but the one thing I'm not going to say confused me, but he was hitting the ball legitimately hard those first few weeks of the season. So so as hard as he took it, that part I was like, you are hitting the ball well. It's not like you're swinging and missing and everything and rolling over everything. So that part, maybe this will kind of get him out of it and get him in the right frame of mind because clearly he's somebody that needs to be in the right frame of mind. And to get that hit after he hit that inning double play, I think it was in the fourth inning, I think was big for me. He heard a lot of boos after that inning double play.
Yeah.
And so, this is Philly, man. So, he heard some boos, early in the game and certainly after that that double play ball, and then boom, you hit the big hit and everybody loves you again. So
this is Philly where the frowns can be turned upside down with one swing of the bat.
Hey, I will tell you. Hey, listen, Dave, you're right. Dave Hollins once had like a 3-for-3 day, had a couple of home runs, came up with the bases loaded, had like 6 or 7 RBIs already. The game was won. He comes up and the bases loaded again. The crowd's fired up for him. He's going to have like 10, RBIs. Grounds out or something. They boo his ass. I mean, come on.
I love it.
Going way back to Scott Rowland, they booed him all homestand. He hits a big bomb. He doesn't want to come out for a curtain call because he's like, stick to your boo.
That's right. I do remember reading about that and hearing about that. We will be right back.
AJ, it is time for people to get some new clubs, and to do that, they need to go to their local PXG for a fitting, right?
No doubt. I was there today. I've been there before. Last time I was there, they gave me this killer gap wedge. Look at that sweet spot, Scott. It is worn out. That is right in the sweet spot right there. So I went and got new clubs today, new irons. But more importantly, I got this bad boy. I got me a new putter. This is my old putter. It's on order. Yes, that's my putter cover. PXG Mustang putter. Now I'm going to the Allen putter. They talked me into it because I was draining some putts today. Bob, the guy who helped me out, he helped me with my irons. He got them teed up perfectly. But then we went to the putting green. I was draining them putts because that's the most important part of golf.
PXG fittings are fun. Schedule your fitting today. As you can hear from AJ, for a limited time, you could save up to 20% on your entire order. Head over to pxg.com/foul. That's pxg.com/foul to save up to 20% on your entire order. pxg.com/FOUL. Restrictions apply. See site for details.
We're back. Jim and Ruben, you mentioned Alec Bohm's post-game interview last night, and he was great on TV, and he was great talking to us, kind of talking about everything that he's been going through mentally, physically, emotionally. And we also talked to Bryce Harper after the game, and I thought he said something interesting, talking about Bohm and also Marsh. And I would kind of read a little bit of this to you. He said, I just want him to enjoy the game. He's talking about Brandon Marsh. He says, life could be a lot harder. Life can be a lot tougher. We get to play this beautiful game every day. I was standing in the on-deck circle in the third inning, and I was thinking about it. Man, it's a great game we get to play. Obviously, life's you get ups and downs. It's a hard thing to do. It is. But at the end of the day, we're all healthy. We're all strong. Just go out there and enjoy it because it'll go quick, and you'll start thinking to yourself, why did I take it so serious? And it's gone now. And I thought that was
very philosophical.
Very philosophical. And then I think it was Matt Gelb goes, why were you thinking about this in the on-deck circle in the third inning? He says, I don't know. Just thinking about it. I was just thinking about it during the game. But it made so much sense because I hear players talk about that all the time. I remember when I was working on my on the Roy Halladay book, and I was talking with Kyle Kendrick, and he said something almost exactly like this. He was talking about when he was a player, he had so many things running through his head. He wishes he could kind of go back and like not have a do-over, but just, not a complete do-over. But he said, I just remember worrying about making the manager happy, making the coaches happy. Does the media think I suck? Do the fans think I suck? Do my teammates think I suck? What do I need to do to make these guys happy? Am I doing what I need to do for these people instead of just like going out and focusing and pitching and, just having more fun and like being in the moment more. And I think that is a lot of what has been going on with Bohm and Marsh.
Jamie Moore used to say the same thing about early in his career. I mean, he didn't establish himself till he was like 30, 31. And he had been, up and down in the minors. He'd been traded. He'd been released. And I remember talking to him about him turning around his career. And he just said, I stopped stressing about everything. I stopped stressing about everything. And when I see those Harper quotes in your story this morning, it was a great story. And, the quotes to me were really telling. It was Bryce Harper's basically saying, this team is stressing and pressing like a you-know-what, and it needs to stop. And, I agree. I think pressing has knocked them out of the last two playoffs. I think that's the reason they expand the strike zone and they chase at everything. They're swinging out of the hand, and because of the expectations and the stress and the pressing. And it's a big town with big expectations, pressure packed. It's a tough place to play. But, you need to come back and you need to bring out the boy in you. And just kind of love the game and not worry about all the outside noise. And then you'll get your best performance. And I think that's kind of what Harper was saying. This team that presses a lot. And, you want to play in a place like this with big expectations and big attention. This is what you grow up dreaming about. You don't dream about, you don't grow up dreaming about playing in front of empty stadiums, in front of 3,000 people. You grow up dreaming about playing in front of 45,000 people that want to win a World Series, and everybody wants it so bad. But the performers are human beings too, and they stress and they press. And I think we've seen a lot of that, like I said, this year and a lot of the last two Octobers. This is Harper's way of saying you got to flush it and deal with it. And even admitted that he deals with it, which was good too.
Yeah.
I'm a living, breathing example of that. And even, in fact, I bet, Bryce Harper, when in the early part of his career, I mean, if you watched him and watched his emotion in the game, like when he did not get a hit, he would drag that bat, or he'd drag that bat back to that dugout because he never did not have success. I mean, he was Bryce Harper. And so I know what it feels like. It's a difficult thing to deal with. You go home embarrassed. Those offers really take a serious toll on you unless you stop for a minute, and it's hard to do it in the moment, and say, take a breather and go, you know what? One, I'm a great player still. And two, this is a game, man. This is not life. It's a game.
Yeah, it was interesting comments, and Brandon Marsh last night as well, talking about his struggles, and he seems to be on the right track. I want to ask you guys,
what'd you think of that 3-day respite that he got?
So yeah, that's what I was going to ask you, Jim, because so Monday before the game, Marsh is not in the lineup. It's Johan Rojas, and by all accounts, we always try to like read between, read the tea leaves there, and man, I'm telling you, I thought Brandon Marsh was sitting 3 days because
the manager said it.
Yeah, right. Rob Thompson said he's going to rest a day or two, and then he's like, and then there's a lefty on Wednesday. I'm like, okay, he's going to sit the next 3 days, and I totally got it. And then Johan Rojas on Monday night goes 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts, 2 of them with runners in scoring position, did not have good at bats, and then get to the ballpark on Tuesday. And boom, Brandon Marsh is back in the lineup. And so Rob Thompson tells us that it's because Brandon Marsh had a great day of work on Monday and he seemed to clear his head. And I'm sitting there going, I wonder if Johan Rojas had a better day on Monday. Marsh.
Johan Rojas didn't have a great day of work.
Yeah. So yeah, Jim, what was your reaction to seeing Brandon Marsh? Were you as surprised as I was, Ruben?
Well,
Were you as surprised as I was?
I was stunned because I've seen managers employ a multi-day break for a guy, and he was pretty firm in that he needed a mental and physical break, and getting 2 days, and then with the lefty maybe 3 days, kind of a reset, and then all of a sudden Rojas is out of the lineup, and honestly, I don't blame him there. Those were two horrible at bats with the game on the line.
Jim, do you think if Rojas got 2 knocks, if he would have gotten that extra?
That's a great question. If Rojas gets 2 hits there, yes, I do. I think he's in the lineup. If he has good at bats there, I think he's probably still in the lineup. I think his good day of work supersedes Marsh's good day of work in the batting cage. Because are you telling me if Rojas was 4 for 4 in that game, you're going to sit him? No way. I just thought, hey, look, that was to me, it's a strong vote of no confidence in Rojas that you sit him, that quick, or you put Marsh in back that quick. And I'm fine with it, because those are you got to win ball games, and you're not going to win ball games when you can't pick up spin and you can't give better at bats with runners in scoring position. But I personally think it had more to do with Rojas's. I mean, I like your choice of words. Marsh had a great work day. I think it had more to do that Rojas had a bad work day.
Okay.
You?
No, I mean, I sort of take Rob Thompson at face value that he felt confident in Marsh. But listen, there's a human element to those managers too. He wants to win baseball games, and so maybe there is a little bit of that. Who knows? Only God knows.
Do you think Rojas is back in there if he goes 2 for 2 in those situations?
I think he probably is.
Yeah. So,
yeah,
I just think this had more to do with Rojas than Marsh, and that's fine. I mean, managers are allowed to change their course when they feel it's the right thing for their ball club, and I'm just not sure sending Rojas back out there was, after that game the night before, was the right thing to do for the ball club. But to me, it could have longer range impact. I mean, like, you're basically just saying this guy is an extra outfielder. And I still think center field is, in a lot of ways, not even in a lot of ways, I think it's a sinkhole that they're going to have to address.
Just staying on Rojas, it was such a disappointing at bat, just because if you watch the other side, and I talked to Pat Burrell a lot about this before the series started, because he's the hitting coach over there at San Francisco, and you see these guys with 2 strikes, even before 2 strikes, choking up, just trying to put the ball in play. He said to them, listen, guys, because he knows it is his team, we don't have a lot of power on this team. We got to go gap to gap in this big ballpark there at Oracle Park. It's a big ballpark. You're not going to hit a lot of home runs there unless you're Barry Bonds. And there's no Barry Bondses on that team. And I think that their approach has been pretty good. They slug it because they use gap to gap and they hit balls. They've got a ton of doubles. And I think that's one of the things that a guy like Johan Rojas has to do to be a more complete player, is choke up, put the ball in play, and just try to be as athletic as he can be.
Yeah. And those swings were not that on Monday. No. When we come back, I asked last night, we asked for some questions, Phillies questions, and we have time for a few. So right after these words, we're going to answer some of your questions.
FT fam, you got to check out HelloFresh. I know AJ's favorite part of HelloFresh. They've got the 15-minute meals, 3 steps, and you've got your dinner.
I love it. It comes fresh to your house.
Mm-hmm.
It's pre-packaged with all the ingredients in almost a brown bag. Comes with all the instructions. And what I like most about it is, some people say, I don't like to cook. I like to actually chop the ingredients, cook them up. That way it makes it feel like, even though it was pre-packaged, you feel like you're doing something. And it's so fresh vegetables, fresh meat, high quality, comes with all the sauces, comes with all the spices you need.
Yes, and if you're like, hey, you guys talk about Green Chef, that's right. They're in the same fam. Both bring different strengths to the table. So check out HelloFresh, of course, and get yourself up to 10 free meals and a free high protein item for life at HelloFresh.com/FT10FM. 1 item per box with active subscription. Free meals applied as discount on first box. New subscribers only, varies by plan. That's up to 10 free HelloFresh meals. Just go to HelloFresh.com/FT10FM.
We are back. Don't forget, if you like the Phillies show, you can get a Phillies show t-shirt at thephilliesshow.com. Reading through a lot of the questions last night, you can kind of tell what's on the mind of the fan base for sure, right? And a lot of questions on center field. Got a lot of questions on Justin Crawford and what they're going to do in center field, either internally or externally. So let's start with this. Does the center field situation accelerate Justin Crawford coming up one way or another? If so, when? That's from Xander Hunt 44 on Instagram.
I asked around about this the other day, and they're not ready to do anything on Crawford. They're not there yet, but he is on the radar for 2025 at some point in this season, depending on his performance. But the way I see center field shaping up, what you've gotten out of it now for over a year, over a season, I think it's going to need to be addressed at some point, whether Crawford is the answer later in the season. Like I said, they're not there yet. Whether some type of an upgrade comes from outside, I don't know. Whether, Marsh finally gets it together against right-handers, and there's some type of platoon situation in or out. But it's definitely something that they're watching. And, I don't rule out a guy like I would keep an eye on that Otto Kemp to see if he plays any left field in AAA. Any left field. He's not going to play center field. He's not a really good defender. It's not his strong suit. He's more of a corner infield. He has played a little bit of left field. I'd keep an eye on Weston Wilson. Those could be those guys I was alluding to if Kepler doesn't hit lefties consistently. I think it might be an attractive platoon. Kepler's still going to get the majority of the at-bats if they did something like that. And if they needed a left-handed corner bat, Rincones, who is on the 40, I believe, would be ahead of on the pecking order. But Crawford's more down the line, very much on the radar, but more down the line.
Yeah, I don't see these guys.
Yeah, Wes Wilson played a rehab game.
Go ahead.
Go, Rube.
Go ahead, man.
No, I was going to say Wes Wilson last night or yesterday afternoon played his first rehab game with Lehigh Valley. Had a couple hits. I think it was a double and a triple. So he's getting closer. He is getting closer.
Yeah, I mean, Weston Wilson is an option at some point when he's ready to go. He needs some at-bats. He needs a full spring training. Talk to Rob Thompson about that. So I don't think they're going to necessarily push him forward. I mean, he might play some center field. Who knows? He's got the athleticism. Yeah. Listen, here's the thing. They got to give Justin Crawford and they got to give Brandon Marsh some time to iron some things out. Crawford's got to develop, and Marsh has to prove to them that he can be a center fielder every day in the major leagues. He's going to get that opportunity. He's going to have to brush off this past start that he's had, which has been terrible, after a really good spring, and he's going to have to take it to the big leagues. And he's got to play with it in the big leagues and perform, because guess what? It's a performance-based deal. One of the reasons why he's such a lightning rod right now is because, and Bohm as well, Bohm is different because the expectation's higher on the guy. But with Marsh, he's sort of under the microscope because he hasn't really done it. He's had some levels of success, but he hasn't done it. And the other players on the team have not really started swinging the bat either. So the lightning rod's on him, and he's going to have to perform. And if he doesn't, Dave Dombrowski's going to make a change. He's not going to sit on his hands. I'm going to tell you that now, that they're hell-bent on winning. And if these guys don't perform and he doesn't start enjoying the game again and playing the way he can because he's got a lot of ability, then they'll make a change.
You know who else would make a change? You. When you were the GM, you and Scott Profrock and Mike Ondo would be upstairs right now, mid-April, looking forward, saying we might have an issue here. How are we going to address this if it doesn't straighten out? You would be already having plans and work in the works. You and Pat Gillick would have plans in the work. You guys would have the foresight to be looking long range to say, if this doesn't straighten out, it's been a while here. If this doesn't straighten out, what's our plan A, B, C? And I'm sure those conversations are taking place upstairs at Citizens Bank Park. And, it's up to Brandon Marsh to make those conversations moot.
Amen.
100%. Let's do one more, and let's
do 8 more.
Well, let's do one more, and then we'll try to get to a few more maybe later this week. But a lot of people upset with Rob Thompson right now because the team is in a rough week, 3 weeks into the season.
Because he didn't go out and punch Tony Randazzo in the face.
Yes.
Exactly right. So here's the question, but Jim, I want you to address that criticism. Here's a question. This is from Kev Pete Lou on Instagram. Will Topper be fired at some point this season?
No.
Okay, but
the only way he'll be fired is if they feel like he's not getting the most out of his team, and I don't feel that way. I don't think Dave Dombrowski's up there looking like this guy ain't getting the most out of his team.
Monday night, a lot of people wanted him to run out there because JT Realmuto, that was a terrible call, third strike, no doubt about it. Rob Thompson did not go out there and rip first base out and second base out of the ground and kick dirt on Tony Randazzo. What were you guys? He didn't do that.
That call was awful.
I don't think he needed to do. Call was horrible. It was a big call, and it was it was a miss. And we've seen, and there was a ton of them yesterday too. There was a strike right down the middle that Alvarado threw to Lee that would have ended his at bat late in the game, and then Lee ended up getting a base hit. You just can't miss those pitches as an umpire, but they miss them all the time, and they got to start bearing down even without the ABS system because they're not bearing down the way they were bearing down in spring training for me, and that needs to happen all the time. Anyway,
that was such a bad call.
Those were egregious calls. Now, what I will say is, the team has to fire themselves up. I mean, these are professionals. I mean, every once in a while, it's not a bad thing for Rob to go off the handle. But, I mean, that's not his job. The team has to do it themselves. I mean, Rob's got some, he's got a lot of respect for the umpires. He knows how difficult that job is. And, I mean, there's a time and a place maybe to do it, but that's not going to – I mean, we're 16, 17 games into the season, guys. They got to fire themselves up. They got to get themselves going themselves. And yes, I know he is part of the motivation factor, but part of it is being steady and being confident in his players, which he certainly is.
And if he really wanted to get thrown out of that game, he could have done it from right in the dugout by just yelling, a couple expletives about how bad that call was, and he would have gotten it.
About how horse shit the call was. Yes.
He wouldn't even have to expended any energy walking up the stairs. He could have just, honestly, 4 words could have gotten him booted. So, I mean, it was late in the game. To me, it has to kind of be organic and something more from the gut, more visceral, like I said, shout 4 words at him with a couple nice F-bombs, and you could have gotten.
And he probably did do that, Jim.
Yeah, he probably did.
Well, assume he did.
But
I wonder how the conversation between JT and Randazzo was when he came back out.
I wanted to ask that question if we got JT on yesterday instead of Bohm, because it was a possibility because JT had such a good game that he was going to be the guy. He ended up being, I think, star of the game, but we ended up getting Bohm in the interview. I was going to ask him, but didn't get a chance to. Maybe I'll ask him today.
And here's how you handle that. You go out and you kind of look at him, and man to man, Randazzo knows he blew the call.
Of course.
And Randazzo, if he's a man, say JT should just look at him and say, "Come on, man, you owe me one." And the umpire should say, "You're right. That I owe you one." So it's like working an official in basketball. You get.
I will say this that I love the umpires back in the day when they
all
knew
the time
this one, and they would tell you, and then it sort of diffuses it. Like if you're at the plate and a guy calls a strike and you look at him, you're like, and then in the interim, he says, I might have missed that one, Ruben. What are you going to say?
Right.
That diffuses the whole situation, and it humanizes the umpire as well. What are you going to do?
Right.
I love that stuff.
It's not a perfect science.
But the idea of, you got to flip the, team meetings and manager getting ejected, and every time a team is on a little bit of a slump, Charlie Manuel always used to say, you do that too many times, you start getting laughed at by your players because you're like, oh, here he goes again, So
Jim's right about, it's got to be visceral. It's got to come from the heart. It can't be contrived.
It's like Joe West told me a great story once. I'll try to make it quick. He's batting third. Steve Garvey's batting third. Steve Garvey's batting third in the game. And I forgot who the pitcher was, but, the first 2 outs of the game were on first pitches. So the game just starts like that. Now Steve Garvey comes in, and the first pitch is up here out of the strike zone, and Joe West goes, strike one. And the second pitch is up here out of the strike zone, and Joe West goes, strike two. They're both balls. Garvey backs out of the batter's box, picks up some dirt, wipes it off, puts his bat on his shoulder, turns to Joe West and says, are we ready yet? And Joe just busts out laughing because he knows he blew these 2 calls because the game just started with a bang, He's like, are we ready yet? And boom, that shows the relationship there's a good relationship between the player and the umpire. But I'm sure JT, because knowing him as a man, I bet after a little cooling off, maybe him and Randazzo would have a little laugh about it. At least I hope they would. I hope JT would get one.
I would bet that Randazzo went to him because they see the pitches on their, on
And
their iPads afterwards, and I'm sure they had a chat.
And I think, and JT's sneaky funny too, so I'm sure he might have tried to diffuse the situation. Maybe not, but he is sneaky funny, so maybe he did. Well, guys, that was fun. We'll be back later this week to wrap up the Giants series and to look ahead at this weekend's series against the Marlins. Talk to you guys later.
Smell you later.
Smell you, Jim.
The Philly Show is brought to you by the Foul Territory Network. Subscribe to The Philly Show on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. If you like us, give us a review. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, X, Facebook, and Threads. Find Ruben's analysis before, during, and after Phillies games on NBC Sports Philadelphia, on the Sports Radio 94 WIP Morning Show, and MLB Network. Find Jim at allphly.com. Find me at MLB.com, the Phillies Beat newsletter, and MLB Network.